Released in 2005, Resident Evil 4 was met with critical acclaim and commercial success. The game was praised for its groundbreaking gameplay, intense atmosphere, and innovative camera system, and critics went as far as to say that both the gameplay and story was considered some of the best in the series. However, there was still a remarkable amount of surprise hearing about a remake of Resident Evil 4, and this was not without reason. With Resident Evil 4 being so highly acclaimed, fans were skeptical about the remake being able to live up to the same amount of hype as the original. And not only this, but others were also afraid that Capcom would deviate too far from the original game's design. However, these concerns were without notice upon the game's release. Visually speaking, the Resident Evil 4 remake has received a stunning makeover. The graphics are jaw-dropping, showcasing incredible attention to detail, from the atmospheric lighting to the character models. Every environment has been beautifully recreated, immersing us into the eerie atmosphere of the game's chilling setting. And I have to mention the sound design, which perfectly complements the visuals and intensifies the game's most tense moments. The sound design manages to create such incredible atmosphere during the entirety of the game, and another thing in relation to the sound would be the music. Just like in the 2 remake, the official score for the game is really nothing too impressive. The original soundtracks are far more enjoyable in both games, but even the option to select the original score was a bit of a turn-off in the 2 remake. This was simply because it struggled to completely tie to the gameplay. Thankfully though, here it does manage to do a better job merging into the gameplay of the 4 remake. The gameplay has been revamped, adding new mechanics and features that enhance the overall experience for both new and long-time fans. An example of this would be the blue medallions. Whilst it was in the original, the idea has been further expanded, and instead of being seen once, the medallions are seen more frequently in shape of one of the many tasks given by the merchant. A reward is also given upon completing any of the merchant's tasks. The new control system in the Resident Evil 4 remake is far more simple and smooth feeling than in the original game. The aiming and shooting mechanics have been finely tuned, providing a fresh sense of precision during intense combat situations. With increased precisions and controls, it becomes far easier to navigate through both the action sequences and QuickTime events. The QuickTime events add an extra layer of tension and excitement to the gameplay, keeping players on their toes, but the only shame is that there is no more running away from boulders or hilariously large statue sequences anymore. The weapons arsenal has also been expanded, giving players more options to take down the terrifying creatures lurking in every corner. 3 bonus weapons found in the Resident Evil 4 remake are the Chicago Sweeper, the hand cannon, and the primal knife, with each of the weapons having a specific challenge to beat in order to unlock said item. For the Chicago Sweeper, you have to beat the game on professional difficulty with an A rank. For the hand cannon, you have to beat the new game plus on professional using no bonus weapons. And finally, for the primal knife, you have to destroy all 16 of the Clockwork Castellans. What are Clockwork Castellans? They're the main collectible in the remake, and they're basically just well-hidden bobbleheads. One is hidden in each chapter, and you'll know one's nearby because of the noise of a gear or ticking nearby. The inventory system has been improved massively, which when seeing how the originals behaved, I didn't think such a thing was possible. Players have been given more strategic options with crafting and inventory management, as an automatic sort key is now present. This tidies your inventory on command. Only thing is, I find it too fun reorganizing my case to find this useful, so I personally don't use this too much. New features like sending things to storage to be saved for a later time or selecting what items to craft from a drop-down menu are still such useful mechanics to be imported into the gameplay. One of the standout elements of this remake is the improved AI, making the enemies smarter and more challenging to defeat. This is one spot where the remake is far better simply because of the poor enemy AI intelligence in the original game. Enemies were often rather predictable, with their only moments of unpredictability being their dodging or ducking mechanic, but even this happened quite rarely. In the remake, enemies cannot simply just be ran past without the high risk of being grabbed and losing health. However, in the GameCube port, the enemies can be rammed past with pure ease, making some enemies appear more as, well, obstacles than harmful opposition. On topic of the enemies, the new RE engine helps with showing us how terrifying the enemies were meant to look 18 years ago, and the remastered look offers a fresh new horrifying experience for both new and old Resident Evil players. The developers have managed to retain the charm and terror of the original while adding their own unique touches. Each enemy has its own strengths and weaknesses, and not only this, but new intimidating enemies and mini-bosses are shown in rewarding side quests set by the merchant. The merchant's shop is a crucial part of the gameplay experience. Players can trade their hard-earned treasures and extra items for essential upgrades to their weapons. It's a balancing act, as you must decide whether to invest in improving your firepower or stocking up on supplies that could help you on your journey. On topic of the merchant, it should be noted that at certain save locations alongside him, you find his shooting range. In this shooting range you'll face various aim-based challenges where precision is key. From time targets to critical hit objectives, this mode will push you to improve your accuracy and reflexes. You'll earn points based on your performance. The points rewarded to you during your time at the shooting range are exchanged for little tokens, which in turn are used to unlock charms. Charms give special abilities which help the player get a rewarding edge on the opposition. The Resident Evil 4 Remake offers 4 difficulty levels, whilst the original only had 3. Each difficulty offers a unique challenge to players, and behind beating each difficulty you are rewarded with completing an in-game challenge. These achievements add to the game's replayability. Anyway, first up is Easy Mode. This is perfect for newcomers or those who want to enjoy the story without the added stress. Enemies deal less damage, ammo and resources are plentiful, and the puzzles are relatively straightforward. It's a great way to familiarise yourself with the mechanics and get a taste of the intense gameplay without feeling overwhelmed. As we move up the ladder in difficulties, normal mode begins to kick things up a notch. Having enemies become more aggressive, resources become more scarce, and the merchant's offers heightening in cost. This mode is recommended for players who are already familiar with the Resident Evil series but crave a balanced challenge. For hard mode, enemies once again become more aggressive, the merchant's deals become more expensive, and materials and ammo supplies become rarer to come across. And finally, in professional mode, the game really begins to show no mercy. Ammo supplies become a rare luxury, enemies are brutally unforgiving, and the puzzles remain just as hard, if not harder. The only real issue with this game mode is when enemies begin to stun-lock you. This is because this leads to an almost no survival chance, being how much damage the enemies do, and how in order to parry, frame-perfect precision is required, making the game an unnecessary sight more difficult. Parrying is an essential skill that can turn the tide of any intense battle. It allows you to deflect enemy attacks, giving you a brief window of opportunity to counterattack or strategize your next move. Most of the characters in the remake have ended up as more of a downgrade from the original, and in some cases what I would consider substandard. Though with that said, it's crucial to acknowledge the challenges faced by voice actors. Attempting to bring a fictional character to life is a tough job. However, even when a vocal performance doesn't reach up to specific expectations, the voice actor should not be faced with harassment over such roles. Though with this said, it's quite obvious why Louis Serra's character expansion is one of the most appraised things from the remake. Honestly, Capcom did an incredible job making Louis appear more and having more of his backstory given. He helps make the story more impactful, and I'm glad he got more time on screen and managed to fight alongside Leon.
That hurts, you know?
It seemed like you really wanted to talk.
How observant, senor. Now, you got a smoke?
You know, those things will kill you.
Oh, well, maybe just untie me then, huh?
One of the most popular additional game modes in Resident Evil 4 is the Mercenaries. The Mercenaries mode adds a refreshing twist from the main story. This is because in this game mode you must eliminate as many enemies as possible within the time limit, testing your accuracy, speed and strategic thinking. As you progress through the game mode you'll unlock new characters, each with a unique set of strengths and weaknesses. The characters range from the different Resident heroes like Leon S. Kennedy to the fan favourites like Hunk. Every character brings a fresh experience, encouraging players to progress and unlock things further. The feature of the Mercenaries also adds to the game's replayability. The Mercenaries features various maps, each found within the gameplay from the main story. In regards to enemies, the Mercenaries throws a variety of foes at you, from relentless Ganados to monstrous bosses, which in turn helps to keep the game mode interesting. Stealth is now a heavily reliant mechanic in the remake, with the game having plenty of areas strongly hinting at the stealth feature. Though while stealth has now been finely enhanced, it still doesn't necessarily need to be done optimally in order to beat the game. In fact, it doesn't really need to be done at all. Stealth sections are just a nice way to bring the game back down to a steady pace. However, issues with this feature revolve around some timing and the knife attacks. A prime example being the Garrador sequence, which relies on you hitting the obvious weak point on the Garrador's back. The weak point can be shot, but it's more satisfying to get a chain of stealthy knife attacks to take him down. But with that said, it can also be far more infuriating considering how the button prompt may not appear in good time. Every fan knows that the Resident Evil series is iconic not just for its heart-pounding gameplay, but also for its wide range of character outfits. And Resident Evil 4 Remake has raised the bar even higher in terms of fashion and customization options. Whilst the costumes primarily serve an aesthetic purpose, they can have a gameplay effect as well. Some outfits offer increased offense or knife damage, whilst other costumes are there simply just for a fashion purpose. Who makes this shit? The Resident Evil 4 Remake manages to strike a balance between honouring the game's original legacy while delivering a new, crisp experience for both longtime fans and newcomers. The remake respectfully pays homage to the source material but also introduces new gameplay elements, an example being how the story from the original more or less remains intact, but some additional surprises are present in order to keep even the most seasoned players engaged. And I think it's for this reason that I can say that Capcom successfully created a work of art in regards to reimagining the classic masterpiece that is Resident Evil 4. However, my final rating for Resident Evil 4 Remake is a 9.2 out of 10. Thank you for watching, and man does it feel good to be back. I haven't uploaded in nigh on 10 months, but I promise there'll be more uploads coming. So thank you for being patient, and I hope you enjoyed.